Cheers. Hello, friends.
Hi, guys.
Happy frickin' December.
Oh my god.
I know.
It's December already?
By the time we're posting this, yes. Isn't that disgusting?
I refuse that reality. Like, that's not
Same.
what's happening
Me
currently.
too. I'm also bummed because last episode I knew what episode we were on. Is it 19?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because we were a legal adult last time.
Yes. Happy.
Happy 19!
Welcome to episode freaking 19.
That was a beautiful freaking... Like,
Thank
that was
you.
like a full experience.
Thank you. I thought so too. I had to really I can't think of what the band director is called.
Yeah, no, I can't
Yep.
think either.
Like with the it's just a band director, I don't know.
Like
You know?
the orchestrator?
I don't know, whatever the fuck it is. I had to really orchestrate it.
You also, like, you were in band.
Yeah, it was a long
I have
time
an
ago.
excuse.
It was a long time ago. I don't.
Maestro? No, that's not.
I'm sorry, what?
Maestro? What's a maestro?
Alexa. I'm just kidding. She's not in this room. I don't know. Anyways.
All right.
Welcome to episode 19. Catherine.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. This week has felt like it's been a year. We're kind of recording out of the norm. Normally we record on like a Saturday or Sunday, and we're recording midway through the week this week.
At 9 p.m. first of all.
Yeah, this is
It's
way
not
past
like
my
us.
bedtime.
I was going to say we're both normally at least getting ready for bed right now.
Yeah, normally I have like the night guard, mouth guard in. I have no makeup on. You have yet to see me with a mouth guard, yeah?
I think I have once. Because we
Maybe
sit
once.
in Flagstaff.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you wore it that night.
Yeah.
So I remember making fun of you because you were like...
It's really hard to control the drool in your
You know,
mouth.
and I know that. And every friend I've had who's had to wear like a mouth guard or retainer.
Yeah, and the lisp that comes along with it, like.
Hey, but at least you have beautiful teeth from it. I wish I had that because my teeth are...
Oh, this doesn't help my teeth be beautiful. It just keeps me from grinding my teeth from the
You
anxiety.
didn't have braces?
I mean, I did, but this night guard is not like a
it's
retainer.
night guard. I thought it was
Yes.
like a retainer for your braces.
No,
Never
no, this
mind
is
then.
for my mouth because I have anxiety and I grind my teeth in my
So
sleep.
do I, and my dentist has told me to get one.
It's life changing, honestly.
Did you? So real quick,
Yes.
off topic. Did you get it from your dentist?
Yes.
Okay, my dentist. Like the lady told me to get it from Walgreens first, and every time I try that, it doesn't
Oh.
work. She was like, just try it out because some people can't sleep with it in. So my grinding of the teeth because of anxiety has happened this year. Like, is when it started getting bad. Well, I guess it was last year after I lost my job. That's the last time I went to the dentist because #COVID.
Yeah.
Have not been to the dentist
Understand.
this year. But last time when I went around this time last year, she was like, go to Walgreens, get one of the ones that you like boil, see if you can sleep with it on. But that sucker would not stay in my mouth.
Oh.
Because she was like, well, they're really expensive.
You should just get one through your dentist.
I-
If you
next
need a
time I
better
go to the
dentist,
dentist,
like,
I will.
hit up me.
Hit up me.
Hit up
I'm
me.
a dentist.
I'll give you a good like dentist reference, referral.
Perfect.
Whatever it is. Yeah, no, mine is amazing. My jaw feels so much better. Yeah.
Do you find yourself like clenching your jaw throughout the day less?
Yes. Yes.
Less because of it. Because I will literally be like, my jaw is sore from being like
Yeah.
all day long. Like that
My
girl,
jaw-
like that GIF with the cotton candy girl, that little girl, she's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, my jaw feels a lot better because it's not as sore to begin with in the day because it's been like cushioned throughout the
Yeah,
night.
see, mine hurts and my teeth get really sensitive.
For those of you out there that have anxiety and realize you grind your teeth, night guards, man, life-changing, highly recommend. You sleep and you wake up and you're like, wow, I feel like a whole new person because my jaw is not tired starting out the day.
I don't know what that's like.
Hot tip for the week.
If you take away anything from this episode.
But yeah, so rewinding back to how I'm doing
How you're
this
doing.
week. So we're recording on a Wednesday. It's only halfway through the week, but this week has felt really long because
Yes.
tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and so like work has felt slow but also busy at the same time, and I just have been over it since like 8 a.m. on Monday.
Since 8 a.m. on Monday in March.
Honestly, yes, not wrong. So yeah, it's been fine. It's just felt long, but nothing to complain about. Like,
That's good.
It's all right.
I'm glad.
Yeah. How about you? How has this week been for you?
I'm okay.
Okay, gotta give us more than that.
Well, in the past 2 weeks, I've had 2 breakdowns.
Oh, that's
Which
fun.
actually isn't that bad. But
How
like,
many-
we'll say like 2 like significant breakdowns.
Okay. How many significant breakdowns did you have previously in a week or 2?
A lot.
Oh, okay. So, like, 2 is not bad.
No, 2 is great.
Okay.
But also, like, it's more than I've had since, like, July.
Okay. So it's kind of
Ish.
amped up, but, like, not as bad as it used to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those involved me thinking that everyone hates me, and that I'm annoying, and that I suck at everything, and that I don't deserve anything in the world.
Really fun feelings to have. Like, really comforting.
So much fun. I absolutely love it. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Love it. Live it. Thrive. All of the above. Doing great over here.
Thriving? Yes.
Other than my 2 breakdowns, and it hasn't really been 2 weeks. It's been like 10, and like within like it was like a week of each other. So we'll say, because it was like one happened on a Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next one was on the following Thursday.
Okay, it's like a week apart.
Yeah.
Okay. It happens. I mean, there's ebbs and flows of, like, where we're at and, like, feeling okay.
Yeah, you know that video where that guy's like, "It is what it is." That's how I feel.
So, like, in this moment, you're feeling kind of at peace with it. Like, it happened.
I also will say I didn't go to therapy last week because I was not feeling well.
Oh, okay.
So I was sick last week, and I did not go to therapy this week because of Thanksgiving. And I just kind of wanted. I knew I was going to be working a lot because was taking the day off the next day, and I just knew that I was going to have a lot of shit to do. So I was like, I'm not going to go to therapy today. I'm going to like work, and I'm just going to take the night off.
Yeah.
Which actually kind of worked out because I didn't stop working until 8:30 at night. So it kind of just worked out that I
Yeah.
didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So that is, I've never ever canceled since I started therapy. I have not canceled anything. If I couldn't drive there in person, I did it
Like, over the phone.
over telehealth kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's weird. I feel like it's weird. Like
It's
it
kind of
became so
hard.
routine for me.
Yeah.
That it feels like very like, and I felt really bad for canceling on my therapist. But
You know what,
it
though? Like,
happens.
You've been doing counseling for so long. The fact that
Yeah.
this is, like, the first time you canceled is amazing.
Yeah.
And also, it can feel a little weird and a little hard to not have that, like, safe space to, like, get everything off your chest or to process through things, especially when you've
Probably
created
why I
that
had
routine.
2 breakdowns.
Yeah, you could, like, this has all been pent up. I haven't had that space to, like, get rid of it. Like, gotta get rid of it somehow.
I know,
Cue breakdown.
Poor Nate. Other than that, doing great, guys. I don't know, I like shriveled up into like a tiny old man. Doing great.
I loved it. I hope you do that more
I don't
often.
know why. But yeah, other than the 2 breakdowns, I'm doing alright. I just living life. It is what it is.
Well, and I think that's the point of this whole podcast. Some weeks are going to be good. Some weeks are going to be funky. Some weeks are going to be bad.
Right.
Some weeks are just weirdly in the middle.
Right. However, I have been looking forward to this episode and this topic for days.
Yes.
So, Catherine,
Yes.
I did this last time.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about sex part 2.
You didn't say it the right way.
Oh.
Say X, or I don't remember how I said it.
How does the song go?
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about you and me.
Wow, let's quit our jobs right now. Girl band, it's happening.
I don't know if we should bank on that.
Oh.
I love it, and I'm here with you, and I also need to keep us, like, grounded.
Nah, we good.
But
Anyways.
yes. So our first episode where we talked about sex actually is one of our most listened to and viewed episodes, which I think speaks to what we were talking about in the episode of, like,
Right.
people don't talk about sex with others, but everyone wants to
They
know about
don't.
sex.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a there's just so many different like layers to it. Like it's like Shrek, aka like an onion.
Solid reference.
Thank you. But like there's just so many different things that we can talk about, and like even today when we were talking about it, I was like, oh my god, we could even do like a part 3 and just keep talking about this like over and over and over again, because you know there are some like sex podcasts out there that talk about sex, like for example Call Her Daddy, and I love Call Her Daddy. I listen to that shit not all the time, but I listen to it a lot because I love it. I just think it's so much fun. It makes sex so like light, and it makes it feel easy
and like relatable. Like you can listen to it and be like, okay, I can get
kind
that.
of. So I listen to it and I'm like, oh my god. Which is what we can touch on a little bit today. But it, you know, but it does like you don't hear women talking about sex very often.
True.
And so listening to Call Her Daddy and listening to, you know, Alex, the host, talk about sex so openly and so honestly, it's just like, it's like refreshing because you don't hear that very often. And she's very open. If you guys listen to that, very open, does not hold like anything back.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. And that's one of the reasons I love it, because it does make me feel more comfortable in certain areas.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's true too. Like, even between like girlfriends or friends, like, I was talking to my sister, and my sister and I are very open and honest about sex. Like, I tell her a lot of details. She does the same with me. But she's talking about like with her friends, and like they're not super open about it. Like, her friends feel awkward when she like kind of brings it up, and she's like, you don't even have to tell me details. Just like, is it okay? Like, are you guys compatible? And even having
like, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Like, did you have fun?
Yeah.
Because that, I mean...
And even having that, like, feel awkward or, like, uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, God, the amount of details that, like, I tell you or I tell my sister or my friends, like, oh. That's, like, one of the things I asked. I think, like, a couple weekends ago, I asked a friend, I was like, so how did it go? Like, did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Was it, like, compatible? Was it a good time? Because it's important.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so interesting how, like, it's totally expected of guys to talk about sex. Like, if they're talking about sex, it's like, that's exactly what they should be doing.
It's like locker room talk.
Just guy talk, just hanging out. But as soon as a woman talks about sex, and if she enjoys it or what she likes, everyone's like, oh, God, that's inappropriate. It's so weird. And it doesn't need to be that way.
No, not at all. And I think that is something that I want to highlight in general, is, like, talking about sex, talking about preferences. And I think that, like, sex ties into mental health, too. Like,
so much.
Oh, yeah.
More than you, like, would even think.
Exactly. Like, it draws upon that feeling connected with someone else. It draws upon our insecurities about our bodies, kind of how we view ourselves. Do we view ourselves as sexy? Do we view ourselves as, like, worthwhile of, like, having a partner that values our body, respects our wishes in the bedroom?
Right. Or is it a way that you cope with having too much sex? Or not too much, but you know what I mean? Like,
are you feeling a void, feeling a gap with like, sex?
And like just having sex like constantly, or are you trying to step away and be like, oh my God, like I can't do it, and that insecurity like of having sex and of being out there, like there's both ends of it. So and I just feel like it's just not talked about enough.
Yeah, hence why we have part 2 to talk about it some more, you guys. So I think one of the big things that I have found is that people, even in relationships with each other, don't talk about sex between each other.
Yes.
Like, they don't talk about, like, what did you like about the sex we just had? What did you not like? Like, was it okay?
They just go for it, and they're like, all right, good night. And you're just like, whoa. Never mind, I'm just going to go to bed.
Yeah. Or, like, you're like, well, I guess that was sex. I guess it was okay. Like, this is how it's supposed to go. Like, I shouldn't say anything.
Right.
And so you hold back what your preferences are, or what your likes or dislikes are. But, like, how do you, first of all, get better at sex? Because no one's great at sex the first time off the bat. Like, I'm sorry, but you're
it's
just
awkward,
not.
and it's weird, and it's like, I want to use the word bumpy.
Yeah, I think that's solid.
Because from Friends, like, they say bumpy, and I just feel like that's a good way to describe, like, your first time. Like, it's not this beautiful, perfect moment all the time. It can be, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah. It's most likely not.
It's bumpy.
It's a bumpy ride.
I don't even know what I mean by bumpy, but it's bumpy.
I get it, honestly. And I think that, like, we become more attuned to our partner's, like, desires, and we have better sex by talking about what we like.
Right.
Talking about, like, what we want to try out maybe next time.
Right. And I think it's important, too, that you're comfortable enough with, you know, the person you're having sex with to be able to talk about that, because for example, you know, with past partners before before Nate right now, I've never had anyone ask me like, do you want to do this? Like, do you like this? Like, what can I do different? What can I do better? Like, just trying to make you like enjoy it more. And sometimes I'm like, okay. Like, when he first asked me that, I remember just being like, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm fine. Like, just like so nervous. And I didn't like fully understand why he was asking me that, because I was like, oh my god, I'm fine. Like, what do you mean? I'm fine. Like,
you're
what?
like, this is sex. Like, we don't talk. We just keep going.
We just have sex. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, you can stop and be like, listen. Or, I mean, you can stop. You can wait till after, however you want to do it. Just be like, did you enjoy that? What can I do different? Like, and just, it doesn't have to be this weird, uncomfortable thing. And as a woman, I feel like it's very common to just like sit there and just like enjoy it, but also not like ask for more.
Yeah. Like, the focus and the time doesn't feel like it should be spent on us. It's like, we should just like get going real fast, which, like, sorry to break it to everyone in the world, but women need a little bit of time to get warmed up and get like into it.
You know what I mean? A little bit.
Exactly. With whatever those noises and hand motions were.
I don't even know, honestly. And I think a big part of all of that is feeling comfortable enough with yourself, which has so much to do with mental health.
Yes.
Because I feel like, for me especially, I'm still like learning like how to be secure with my body.
Yeah, I get that.
And feeling comfortable enough to do things, like to figure out what I like on my own.
Yeah.
Or to figure out what I like even with Nate.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I feel like too that one of the biggest reasons is because it's like, it's so like looked as something like, oh, like you shouldn't do that. It's not very ladylike. Like you shouldn't masturbate. Like it's weird. It's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
but like, that's like, again, same with like having sex and talking about it. Same with masturbation, is exploration, figuring out what you like, what you don't like. Because how do you know if you don't try something out? How do you how do you get better at something without practice? Or like, again, with the communication, like letting someone know that like, wow, you were super sexy when you did that. Or like, I really enjoyed that. Like, these are things that you learn by doing something over and over and over again. Like, you can't be expected to be like an expert at sex or an expert at like making someone else feel good.
Right. And I feel like, there's so many topics we can talk about, guys. I feel like, you know, with what you said, like expecting someone to be an expert, you know, like that's such a big thing, that you go in and you're like, okay, I have to be perfect. I have to know what I'm doing. I have to be good at this. I have to like certain things. I have to, you know, I have to want to do this. I have to want to do that. I have to do this. And it's like, you don't have to do anything you're uncomfortable with or anything you don't want to do. Like, and if someone is pressuring you to do that, then you need to either like have a serious conversation with them about that, or they're not the right person for you to be doing that with.
Yeah. And I think that there's also the opposite end of that, where like there's this idea of like sex is supposed to be this very specific act, this very specific thing, and anything that's kind of outside of that guideline, like anything that's like adventurous, is viewed as like dirty or like super slutty or whatever.
Right.
Like, do what you like. Like, sex is supposed to be something enjoyable and fun and like bonding with, like, if you, that's how you view it, like in a relationship or whatever.
Right.
So like, have fun with it. Like, you don't need to put specific guidelines on it.
Right. You don't need to put these guidelines, and you don't, you know, need to have this exact like, you know, specific thinking around it. I know you grew up going to a very religious school. So what, like, when and how did you start viewing sex that way, rather than like, oh my god, it has to be between two people, it has to be magical, it has to be like, I have to be in love, I have to be married? Like, when did you stop viewing it like that, and when did you just see it as like, I can do what I want kind of thing?
So I had a really hard time for a while, like fully letting myself like enjoy sex and kind of just like letting go. Like, I still felt very stressed and like tight knit with it, because I felt like I was doing something
like wrong.
Yes.
Which is like,
right? Exactly. I have a bone to pick with that. But I think as I became, because I think it kind of paralleled my mental health. So like, as we've talked about before on the podcast, I am not someone who shares my needs, my desires very often. I feel like where's the like value? Like I'm not worth sharing those things. So again, I am working on it. We are getting better. I am valuing myself more. But my like sex kind of mirrored that, where like in the beginning I was still in the place where like I felt like my experience with sex didn't matter. Like I didn't need to express if I didn't like something or I didn't feel good about something. And then as I began to value myself more, I was like, well, I could kind of share about this. Like I should talk about it. And I think over the years, and because I became more comfortable with LaCroix Boy, we started talking more and more about sex and what we liked. And now we have a really good dynamic where we talk about sex. Like oftentimes we'll kind of just chat about it like after the fact, and I'll compliment him on like what I really enjoyed or make suggestions of like what we could change next time. And so like not every time is going to be like a home run, like the most amazing experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not going to be great every time. You know, sometimes you're both tired and
sometimes you're feeling
like
bloated. Like
and you start like, to do it because you think it's a great idea, and then you're in the middle of it and you're like, shit, I want to do this right now.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
And like, that's a lot of the time. I mean, like, for us especially, it's like, it's not because it's with any, like, it's not anything to do with the other person.
Yeah.
It's just because, like, maybe you start doing it and you're like, oh my god, I'm so tired. I don't have the energy for this. I really thought I did. Or you start doing it and you're like, oh my god, I feel so bloated. Like, I feel disgusting. I need to, like, take a breath or, you know, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And I think that, like, that's the thing, too. Like, not having the expectation that sex is going to be mind-blowing every single time.
Right.
Like,
sometimes it can just be very calm, just very, like, intimate, something that you guys just enjoy doing together.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially with, like, you know, and like I said, I do love Call Her Daddy. But every time they talk about sex on that show, it sounds like it's, like, this crazy, intense, like, really hot sexual moment. And I'm always like, oh, my god, like, how often is this happening to her? Like, good for her, hell yeah. But I'm like, oh my, I don't have the energy for that.
No.
And I think it's okay to, like, and it's so weird because I feel like there's two very different ends of the spectrum where it's like, you either have to be like not like have to be, but it's, I don't know how to explain it. Like, for, you know, for example, with that show, it's like, you know, when they talk about that, they have like these over, like, for me, it feels like an overactive sex drive. Like, they want to have sex all the time, or like not at all. And I feel like there's like a solid in between where it's like, okay, I don't need to be having crazy intense sex all the time, but I also don't have like no sex drive at all. Like, I'm very much in between.
Yeah. Well, I think that depends on your body too. So like I have some people that I know that like have the sex drive of like a young teenage boy, like
how
hyperdrive, and they're older than me, and it's just like they're like wanting it all the time, and I'm like, oh my god, how do you have the energy?
I do get it. Sex is wonderful. It's great. It's so much fun. It's awesome.
Yes.
But it takes up so much energy. Like, mentally, like, mentally, physically. It's just, like, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, when like, you're talking about, what's the show? Call Me Daddy?
Call Her Daddy.
Call Her Daddy.
Call me daddy.
Call me daddy. With like making the like sexual experiences like sound really like dramatic and everything. I feel like that doesn't account for like those moments where it's like a Sunday morning, you have no makeup on and you're like just woke up and you're like, well, we could do this, and it's like not this like wild ride. You're like casual Sunday morning sex.
The way that she talks about it on that, it sounds like it is every time. And I'm like, damn girl, like, good for you. I love listening to this. But I'm like, how, like, I'm not like that. And so sometimes like, you know, I definitely like I said, I don't listen to that podcast all the time. I listen to it often, but I have to be in the right headspace too, because sometimes it does make me feel like I'm not a good enough wife, or like I'm not like enough of a woman, because I'm like, I am not having sex like this every time. Yeah. Like, obviously it happens, but like every single time I'm like, damn, girl. Yeah. You intense. Yeah. Good for you. Like, share some of that with me, because it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. I think that looking at like your sex drive with someone can give you clues to yourself. Like, if you were noticing like I have a lower sex drive, or like I'm not feeling as connected, or like there's something missing there, it might be speaking into something else in your life. Like, are you feeling depressed? Are you not as connected with your partner? Like, should you be working on your like foundational relationship with your partner? Right. And I think that like sex, because it's a very intimate thing for a lot of people, can kind of give you some clues into that. Like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How is your relationship?
Right. And I think there's definitely big signs, like you said, of like what you might be going through, like personally, or maybe how you're feeling towards someone and you don't realize it. Because, like, I don't know, I feel like there definitely has to be like a very specific, like, connection, and it doesn't have to be like a connection like you're deeply in love, but like a just like physical connection.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, you know, like I want to do this, and if there's like, if it's not like, I don't know, I feel like it can just get, I don't know.
Like, so for example,
This is why I love doing this with Catherine, because she just like can articulate everything I'm thinking. And I cannot. So Catherine's gonna take it from me.
So like, for example, LaCroix Boy and I, back when we were both in grad school, we didn't have a lot of time to invest in our relationship, to spend time together, to like build and like bond together foundationally. And so we oftentimes didn't have sex as much, because for me, having that foundation, having that time together, I'm like, we aren't even getting this. Like, I'm not even ready to be like intimate with you because we don't have that relationship.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
yeah. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, like, and like also too, so last year I had a lot going on. Like, my parents both got sick, and then not too long later I got laid off my job, and I honestly just like, I was depressed, I was feeling really anxious, I was exhausted, like, and I didn't have a sex drive for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Like, and there, I think I've mentioned it before, where there was one time where I was like, I want to have sex, let's do it right now, we have to do it. Like, I was like, I'm so excited, I finally want to do it. And halfway through I was like, oh, hold on, like, I can't right now. Like, I started getting really anxious, like, felt like I was having an anxiety attack. And thankfully, you know, I have someone like Nate who was like, okay, like, we're okay, you're okay, and like stopped and kind of like talked to me and calmed me down, because I literally like started having like an anxiety attack in the middle, and it was just because I was like overwhelmed. And I was like, I finally want to have sex, let's have sex.
Like, the moment's here.
We got to do it before it goes away.
Well, and I think that's like true too. Again, like, our sex drive and like how we're feeling during sex can tell us a lot of things. Like, foundationally, you were going through a lot. Your body was processing
so much.
Yes. And so you had other priorities. Like, we're thinking about Maslow's like hierarchy of needs. If you haven't looked that up, look it up. It makes sense. It's kind of like a pyramid of like baseline needs is like safety, like housing,
food, something,
like basic necessities. And then you kind of build up to it, where like the top level is like self-realization, like the higher lofty goals. But like, unless you have that basic like safety, food, the necessities, and then you build upon that, like, you can't get to that higher goal unless you have those. So like, your body, you're like, I'm just trying to create a sense of safety, like, I'm trying to deal those basic things.
I'm just trying to be alive.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Let alone like trying to do like the higher functioning, like have sex, be into sex, be engaged in that moment, like, and have that intimacy.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, it's okay to go through times like that. And I know, like, on, you know, TV shows and stuff, it's very much like, you look at like people in relationships and you're like, oh my god, they have sex like 4, 5, 6 times a week. And it's like, oh my god.
Like, okay, this is the thing that I've never gotten. Angry sex. Like, people that are in a fight and have angry sex.
I don't understand that either.
I have never had angry sex.
No, when I'm mad at you, I don't want to look at you. Let alone let your penis be inside of me.
No, like, get that penis away from me. I don't want you to touch me. Like, I'm angry at you. You don't get to enjoy this if I'm like upset with you.
You should think about like yourself like that all the time, girl. You don't get to enjoy this. I loved that for you just now. It was amazing. It's like the most confident I've ever seen Catherine. You don't get to enjoy this. I loved it. Anyways,
I have beautiful moments sometimes.
I loved it.
But like, I see that all the time in movies and shows, and I'm like, am I weird for not having angry sex?
Or what? With, so what do you think about like makeup sex then?
I also don't get that.
I don't either.
I've never had makeup sex. Like, I've never had a fight with LaCroix Boy and then been like,
let's have sex.
Like, now that we've like figured things out and we're okay, like, I need you right now in me. But like,
but I also feel like you guys, like, and this is for me and Nate too, like, don't have that like really intense like fighting.
Yeah, we're pretty like stable. Like, we're not like like roller coaster of like highs and lows, like we're fighting and then we're like,
and then once you're done fighting, it's just like, okay, it's not like this like big huge like passionate moment. It's just like, okay, we're done.
Let's
go to
so
bed.
Like maybe you have angry sex, maybe you have makeup sex,
and like well also too, I feel like sex is, and like it can be used not used, but it can be a way to like release some emotions and release some
because you get like oxytocin or serotonin, like you get the release of the happy endorphins from it.
So I get why people do it and like why it happens, but for me, I'm like, I'm mad at you. Don't put that penis near me.
Like I can't be in so like sex is like happy space for me. Like my mind needs to be in a good place. If I'm angry or upset, like my brain can't go there. I'm not going to enjoy it. So like I'm not trying to do that. Like
I understand that. And I don't know, I feel like there's so many different, and it's just so weird because I feel like if I want sex too much, it's weird. If I don't want it enough, it's weird. And it's like, well, where is this in between where if like I just want it a certain amount of times, when is it considered normal?
And like what is normal?
Anything is normal. Honestly, if you don't want it ever, great, fine. If you want it all the time, great, fine. If you want it a medium amount, great, fine.
As long as like there is consent with your partner, where your partner's on the same page, like you do you.
Right.
Have angry sex. Have not angry sex. Like
have middle of the day Tuesday sex. Like whatever the fuck you want to do.
You know, afternoon delight. Super great.
There's been times where we'll be working from home and I'm just like, hey, you want a cookie? And he's like, no. And I'm like, you sure? And he's like, just kidding, yeah. And I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden we have sex for 3 minutes and it's done.
You know, exactly. Sometimes it's Sunday morning when you haven't brushed your teeth yet and you're like, well, the dogs aren't up yet. Like,
also,
let's do it.
The dogs aren't up. If you have sex, like morning sex before... Did you see that?
I did see that.
If you have morning sex after brushing your teeth, what kind of a person are you? I just genuinely want to know. Like, that's so interesting.
That's a
just,
lot
like,
of
roll
effort.
over and I'm just like... You know what I mean?
Exactly. You
half
roll
asleep,
over,
grabbing a
you give a couple kisses. You just like you roll over and you're like, here, I'm gonna give you a couple kisses, and like that's me telling you that it's ready to go.
Yeah. So you've been on medication for over a month now.
Yes.
Have you seen that mess with your sex drive at all?
No, actually. So
in a negative or positive way, have you seen it affect your sex drive?
You know what? I would say my sex drive is about the same, or if not a little bit better.
I was gonna say mine affected it in a good way.
Yeah. Because I have more space in my brain to think about it, because I was exhausted all the time from all the negative thoughts I had in my brain.
Right.
And now I have space for positive thoughts.
See, mine was too, like I said, like I would have anxiety attacks during sex, and I would be like too anxious and physically, like sex for sure, like makes your heart rate go up.
Yes.
My heart rate was already fucking 125 just sitting here watching TV. Like it was already way too high from doing nothing. So like I couldn't even imagine like having sex and making it go up to like 190. Like that was just my fear of me being like, and that's another thing too, is that I get scared of everything, and I would be like, what if like my heart rate's already this, what if I start having sex and it gets up to 190 and I die?
Feeds into your fear of like illness and like body not being okay.
Yeah, those are my thinking. That, at least what it was before medication. Now that I'm on medication, I still think like that, but not in such an intense way that it's overtaking my life.
Yeah.
So medication has for sure helped my sex drive, which I think is really interesting to talk about, because a lot of the times medication can decrease your sex drive, but also I didn't have one before.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I started with like low sex drive, but I think so I do notice a difference with the feeling of sex. So like for me, medication,
because my mom told me that when I started taking my medicine, she was like, you're not going to be able to feel sex, and I was like, the fuck do you mean?
You can. Okay.
Well, she said that she had that when she started taking the same medication. She was like, I couldn't really feel it. And I was like, oh my God, if I don't feel it, I'll just switch medications.
Yeah. So, like, here's the thing. And again, granted, medication can affect everyone differently. So maybe your mom could not feel sex. What I noticed for me is that sex feels different. Like, again, it's the same with like the emotions. So it kind of ebbs the highs and the lows. So like having an orgasm, like
It's like
still
more of a
feels
thrill,
good.
like a thrill. No,
thrill.
a thrill.
So it's not quite as high. So like
Oh.
it feels good. It's still like enjoyable, but it's not as like through the roof. Like wow, my whole body.
Because
type
you
of thing.
already have that serotonin.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
that makes sense.
So like
because before you had zero serotonin.
yeah, I was like
So
in the
an
negatives,
orgasm was like
honestly.
wow,
Yeah.
and
Or-
now it's just like wow instead of wow.
yes,
You know what
exactly.
I mean? It's still great, but
Yeah.
it's like
It's still enjoyable. It's still great, but it's not quite as like overwhelming as what it used to be.
and that's not a bad thing.
No. And I still enjoy it, and I still like want to have sex. It's just slightly different, and I think that can be a little weird and a little like throw people off if they're not expecting that or not ready for that.
Right.
And I know for LaCour Boy too, like he could tell that there's a little bit of a difference, and he felt worried. And I was like, no, I'm still enjoying myself. Like it's just different than what it used to be. And we kind of have to figure out a new routine or like a new way of doing
You have
things.
to talk about it.
Exactly, the communication with
Yeah,
sex.
and I think that's super important because, like, you know, he could have noticed something was a little different and just not said anything, and then you guys could have just been like,
Could have been both like insecure and feeling awkward together, like
Right.
not communicating it.
see, and that's good that it's like talked about, and it helps too because like it's like okay, kind of like especially when you're in like a long-term relationship, like you're obviously hopefully not having sex with anyone else,
Yes.
so you have to
Unless you're in an open relationship and it's
Right.
agreed upon, or
Right.
you're swinging or whatever you're doing.
right if you're in a exclusive, I guess,
Yes, like
relationship,
monogamous.
monogamous, that's the word, relationship, then you're hopefully most likely not having sex with anyone else.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to be the same every single time. You're going to want to
Mix it up.
ask how you can make something different, ask how you can do something different, and I still feel like it's hard for me to feel comfortable with doing stuff like that. And it's like, why do I feel so uncomfortable doing different things? And I still feel like even so I've been on medication apparently since fucking May that we found out a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
And I still feel like I'm still kind of getting in the routine of like not feeling too anxious to have sex. Like I feel like sometimes like we'll like start and I'm like, oh my god, am I okay? And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm okay, like I'm fine. And I have to kind of like get myself back into that headspace.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's funny because I think between you and I, like, I think if people didn't know us and they're looking at us, like, they would think that I'm much safer with, like, not safer, but like less adventurous with things in sex. And I think that I tend to be more adventurous than you do, based on like what we've talked about of like encounters and things that we do.
Right.
Which is funny because we both have anxiety, but like for me, I'm always like, well, like let's try it. I feel like I started off at a point where I'm like, I know nothing about sex, so like tell me what you want and we can try it and figure it out. And
So like
it's-
what do you mean?
well, like settings for sex or like things done during sex. Like I feel like
So you're saying you've had sex in more adventurous places than I have, which I will say is true because Nate and I are very big people. We can't have sex in very many places.
well, because we've talked about this of like
Tell me, Catherine.
some things, like, we share a lot on this, but, like, some things I don't need to share for the internet to know. I don't think LaCroix would like me sharing all the things either.
I'm just kidding. But, like, no, and, like, you're not wrong because, like I said, like, there's a lot of things where I'm just, like...
Yeah.
Like, and it's because of my anxiety and because of, like, how I don't know, I just get nervous about a lot of things. And,
Yeah.
like, you know, for the most part, I'll try anything once. Like, and if I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not, if like, it's straight up, if I don't like it, I'm not gonna try it again. And, like, I've been very much like that. Like, if I don't like this, I'm not doing it again because it made me feel uncomfortable or I just straight up didn't enjoy it.
It's funny because in my brain, I'm like, if I didn't like it the first time, I probably did something wrong where I messed it up, and I should try it again because I didn't do
Oh
something
my
right.
god, see, and if it was something that, like, you know, like, for, like, my partner or whatever, like, Nate, like, really wanted to try, I would be like, okay, let's talk about it. Like, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Because maybe we could make it work.
Yeah.
But if it's something that, like, we try once and I'm like, no, I hated that. And he's like, okay, we don't need to try it again. I'm like, sick.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, too, again, kind of looking at the overarching thing, it's talking about it. It's communicating.
Right.
And maybe you don't feel comfortable enough to share with your partner yet, but maybe finding a friend that you feel okay with talking about sex, like someone that you're close to that like you can just start talking, because I think too, knowing that you're not alone or you're not like weird or unique in what your body experiences or what you do can be helpful sometimes.
Right. So what would you suggest of, like, you know, if a person does want to talk to their partner or a friend about it, like, how do they approach that subject, I guess?
So I think it's kind of different. So for a partner, what I would suggest is kind of starting off with compliments, because compliments feel safe. So saying like, I really enjoyed when you did this during sex, or like, I thought you were really sexy when you did this. Maybe next time we could try this. And so that way you're kind of starting with positives and kind of strengths based, rather than being like, hey, I didn't really like when you did this, because people can be really sensitive about sex and feeling really insecure, and they're like, God, I'm awful at sex. So if you start kind of with that, it's like giving reinforcement of what you like.
Yeah.
So then they do that again in the future. And then as you become more comfortable talking about that, you can kind of include like, hey, I really liked when you did this, but I wasn't so much of a fan of like this.
Right. And I think too that I just wanted to touch on, I think that something to look into could be definitely like sex therapy, because I think, and I've thought about this a lot, where it's like, there's just a lot of things about sex that I'm like uncomfortable with, that I feel like, and I don't know, and I don't know why, and it really makes me angry. And I know if like you were telling me stuff, I'd be like, hell yeah, Catherine, like good for you. And then if I were to be like, oh my God, I'd be like, what's wrong? Like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, you know, going like trying out sex therapy could be super beneficial.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think people realize that that's a thing, because I just
yeah.
learned that that was a thing this year, honestly. And like, I think it could be super beneficial, super helpful, and it could truly make you and your partner like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, connect and like improve sex drive, improve
Right.
sex experience. Because I think too that there's a lot of times that societal views and kind of the views that you're raised with impact sex and impact the way you view
So
sex.
much, yeah.
Which can really inhibit your enjoyment of it and your experience with it.
100%.
But back to the question with like, so that's partner. With friend, the way that I would handle it is kind of, I mentioned it earlier with being like, so like, how did it go? Did you enjoy it? Like kind of testing the waters that way. If someone shares like, yeah, it was really good. Like, I feel like we're really like, compatible. Like, oh, did you have fun? Like kind of just starting off with that and kind of building. I think that it's also someone that you kind of need to have a close relationship with to begin with.
Yeah, like a solid, like, not like background, but a solid, what's it called?
Like foundation.
Foundation, thank you. Yeah.
I got you.
Thank you.
That's
That's why we do this together.
Right? We got you. Because I think that there's people that are, you know, very chatty, that are totally comfortable sharing about sex and stuff like that. And if they're like that, that's fine. But for a lot of people, it tends to be more of a, like, intimate relationship thing that they share with someone. So talking with, like, an acquaintance, it might not go as well as if you're talking with, like, a close friend. Like, with you. It took a little while for us to talk about sex, I think. Like,
Yeah.
I'd say maybe...
Or the last episode? No, I'm just kidding. It was a little bit before that.
I would say it was, like, probably a good, like, 6 to 9 months before we really started talking about sex. Then again, that's, like, the normal amount of time it takes for me to, like, get comfortable and, like, really
With
start sharing
people in
myself
general.
with someone. Yeah, exactly. You kind of have to, like, prove that you're, like, there for me to be able to, like, show you my, like, more vulnerable sides.
Yeah, and usually if someone talks to me about something first, then I'll talk about them. So, like, I had a friend before who, like the third time we hung out, made a joke about her and her husband, like, sex life. And I was like, and so I did this, you know, I would do the same thing. And so it just really depends. But
yeah. And I mean, you can also, like, throw out something like that and just kind of test the waters, and someone reciprocates, like, cool, good to go.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Friday. I don't know.
But I think that, like, you just have to think about the dynamic in the relationship and kind of test the waters. So, like, with your partner, kind of that strengths-based, like, positive reinforcement. And then with friends, kind of just throwing it out there, like, asking about them, like, trying to engage in a subtle but, like, encouraging way.
Right, and you could always go into of, like, almost isn't, like, needing an advice type of thing. So, like, if you're feeling comfortable with something, you could be like, hey, can I ask you something personal? And then kind of go into it like that. And I also think, too, that, you know, sex doesn't have to be this big, huge, like, personal thing. It can be however you want it to be. So.
And I always like to, like, let friends know, like, hey, if it's getting too personal or something, like, totally let me know. That's fine.
Not
like, giving
me.
that
I'm
out.
like, tell me everything, detail for detail. I'm just kidding.
You're like, you have no options. Tell me all of the details right now.
Fine. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. No, I don't. For the most part.
But wow, like, I feel like, again, we said this earlier, but I could have talked about this for, like, even longer, like, so many other
we
topics.
could honestly, we'll probably do part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
25, yeah.
Is this going to turn into a sex mental health podcast? No, but it could, is what we're trying to say. Very easily could.
Yes. But we appreciate you guys joining us, listening in. Again, if you guys have any topics you want to hear us talk about, if you want to hear us talk about specific sex-related topics,
like, let us freaking know.
Seriously, like, as you can tell, we're throwing it all out there. Here we are on the internet
talking about sex. But thank you guys so much for joining. Happy frickin' December.
Yes.
Honestly, hallelujah, 2020 is almost over.
Bless up.
We're here for it. We love the fact that 2020 is almost over. We're ready. We hope you guys have a great frickin' week.
Yes.
A great month. A great next year.
We're not there yet. Like, there's going to be multiple episodes before the next year.
I know,
so,
but
like,
I just feel like we're almost there, and I really have to address that it's fucking almost New Year's.
I know. We're ready, though.
I think everyone's ready to move on from this fucking year. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram. That's totally normal, right?
And if you haven't already, subscribed to whatever, like, podcast platform that you listen to us on.
Apple Podcasts,
Yep.
Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, anything else you can think of. We're there.
And then also, last one, if you haven't already, subscribed to our YouTube channel. Get to see our beautiful faces as we talk about all of the topics, and we might blush, we might make funny faces. Go ahead and watch us have all the experiences during
having
this.
our cocktails. First of all,
Yes.
We can't end this podcast without talking about our shirts.
Oh, yeah.
So we have matching shirts today. Say it's beginning to look a lot like cocktails. Cocktails, mental health, sex.
What a
That is all.
combination.
New episode every Thursday. Goodbye.
Matane.
See you, friends.
I think that it's someone that you also kind of